Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and it is Triple Play Day. And I am here today with Misty and Natalie.
Hi.
And you know, for our block this month, we've chosen the Kaleidoscope block. And I just am so tickled by how different everybody's projects are. And I think you're really gonna love it. So to make this quilt, you're gonna need 6.5 yards of a print fabric, and I have used Coming Up Roses by Create Joy for Moda Fabrics. You're also gonna need some background, 2.5 yards, and I have used this charcoal by Robert Kaufman, and it helps to have a 60-degree triangle ruler. And I guess that's it for now. So let me just grab my stuff and I'll show you how to make this. All right, so the fun part about making an equilateral triangle ruler or a kaleidoscope quilt is that you need to look for some wild fabric. I mean, this fabric should have differences. The very first one I made was all safari animals, and it was hysterical. It was so beautiful, but you'd never dream that, you know, with all the stripes and the dots and the colors, it was very fun.
Oh,
so when I saw this fabric, I thought this would be great to make a kaleidoscope quilt with. So what you're looking for when you begin are the repeats of this fabric. Now the repeat is going to be different on every single fabric that you get, and you want to look for the repeat. So I'm going to stretch this out here. And so right here, you can look and see the repeat on this one is about 27 inches. And so you're looking for, you know, you're looking for this flower right here. And when it comes again in exactly the same space, which is right here. And so you're going to cut your pieces in that size, and you're going to cut 6 of them. And then we're going to stack them up. Now I have 6 pieces stacked up over here, but let me show you how I did that. So this is just a piece of the pieces, and I've got them cut. So see here, here's my little flower comes over to here, and then you're going to line them up, and you have to do this meticulously. This is really important. So you're going to take a pin, and you're going to find a spot that you can find on every single piece of the fabric. And you're going to, like right here on the edge of this, like I'm going to go on the very tip of this red flower right here. And I'm just going to stick my pin in there. And then I'm going to come here and stick it in here. Make sure it's something you can find on every layer. And you're going to stick it in every single one like this. And just keep going until you've got all 6 layers. And you're going to have to do this a bunch of times. Your pins are going to be pretty, you know, a couple of, maybe a hand width and a half apart. Then when you get them all in like this, you want to make sure your pin can stand up straight, that everything is laying flat around it, and then you're going to pin it. You're going to lean it over and pin it. So you're going to do that, you know, every so often on here so that it gets right. Then you get to decide the size that you want your kaleidoscope to be. My pieces are 7.5. And so I went for a nice big kaleidoscope. And so you're going to cut a 7.5 inch strip off of this, which I have right here. And so I've left all my pins still in here. So this stays perfectly together, but I have cut a 7.5 inch strip. And you can see right here, I've already started cutting on it. So you're going to cut out 6 pieces at a time, and you're going to lay your equilateral ruler on there on the line that you want. So I want 7.5. And I'm making sure, always watch for your pins, because you do not want to ruin a blade rolling over them with,
Yes.
with your ruler. So I kind of always run my hand across there to make sure there's no pins. And then you're going to cut through this. And it helps if you have a nice sharp blade. It goes through so easy.
Yeah, 6 layers is kind
That's
of
a lot, yeah.
So you're going to go ahead and cut up your whole strip. And this is one of those where you really get to make it as big as you want. But this is one block right here. And the fun thing about this is that as you put it together, you have 3 ways. Because they're equilateral, it means they're the same distance on all sides of the triangle. So there are 3 ways to put this together. So you can put it together so that all these flowers come in the middle like this. Let me see. Hang on just a minute. Let me grab some of these. See these pansies that are coming together in the center? Just like this.
So pretty.
But you're wondering what
That's very cool.
the next design is going to be. So we're going to flip this around, and we're going to put these reds to the middle, these little red squares. And we're going to see what happens with that.
I love that.
And oftentimes I will snap a little picture of each one And because look how different that is.
That
That's
wreath
so
in the
cool.
middle.
Who knew
Yeah.
that would swirl, right?
I love that.
So let's try the third option just for fun. And that's the smaller red squares here in the center.
Pink flower in the, that's cool.
Mhm.
And then this little pink flower is going to wreath up as well.
It's beautiful.
That
So,
is so cool.
so isn't that fun? So you get to decide what you want from your block. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew half blocks together like this. And so, Misty, if you want to sew for me, you're going to line these up. They're going to match exactly. There's no hangover.
I think we should do the wreath one. I like that
Oh, do
one
you like the
best.
blue?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my favorite.
All right, so
loved
then we
it.
have to turn it in to make sure that we put them together right.
I just loved it right away.
I
so.
did too.
You were like,
Yeah.
Wait, don't sew it. This one's going to be so pretty.
all right. So these are going to be sewed together in halves and then put together by rows. And so this eliminates the any need for a what's that called?
Y
Y
seam.
seam.
Y seam.
Yes.
So we're going to lay these right on top of each other like this. And Misty, you're just going to sew right down the side. They
All
match
right.
up. There's no overhang. It's very easy to do.
That's awesome.
And I will go ahead and cut out and make all my little flowers. I have a little stack of leftover blocks because this quilt started getting pretty big. And I just, you know, was
Yeah,
like,
you'll have quite a bit of leftover fabric.
and
won't
then
you?
here's one more. And it can just go, yeah, either
Right
side.
there.
And again, they just line up. And then we're going to cut our background squares almost exactly the same way, except there's no pattern. No pattern on those.
Just because there's no print. There's no
Right.
print to look at. You're using solid fabric.
That's right.
There we go.
All right, so Natalie, if you'll press that, then
Yep.
Misty, you can go ahead and sew this one.
Okay.
I sure will.
So the trick with doing these kaleidoscopes really is that it's half rows. And so when you lay it out, you just have to match up your rows so they go from row to row. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take our background fabric, we're going to cut a 7.5-inch strip, and then we're going to cut our triangles out of that, which I have a few cut already. And so when you go to sew this row together, you're just going to sew a triangle on either side like this. And then you're ready. Let me move this over a little bit.
Do you want some of these ones that are?
And then you're ready to set in your next half a block. So this block right
Here's this
here.
one if you want to press it.
Yep.
So this block right here, it's going to go like this. And then when you do the next row, this will go down here. And this will go here. And you'll just fill in with these squares right out here. I mean, these triangles right out here.
So pretty.
It goes
very
together so well. So
cool.
let's look at the quilt. So I decided to really separate my blocks. So I sewed this top row, and every one has the little triangle in between. And then I sewed the next row to it, and then I put a sashing row. So it really separated them and really gave each little kaleidoscope like its own moment of fame. It comes together so cool. Now, on these outside edges right here, this is just a half of one of these. So I just literally cut these. Actually, I sewed them on, and then I cut them right
You
in
trimmed
half.
it straight.
Yeah, and just trimmed it straight so that as I put them on my block, they would just go straight from row to row, and added an outer sashing. And I mean, it just comes together so fun.
It's so
the
cute.
most
I
fun
love
part.
the orange quilting
I do
that
too.
you did.
It's so
This
great.
posy
So
pattern
I'm
is
super
so
conservative
fun.
with my quilting, and so because it had a black background, I didn't want the black. I didn't want to. Ordinarily, I would pick the background color, but I didn't want that dark color showing up on these pretty kaleidoscopes. So I went with orange,
I love it.
It's
way out of the box.
Very cool.
It's beautiful.
And so the quilting pattern is called Posies. And this is the backing right here. So here's our back. It's gorgeous. This is a 45 wide fabric. So for this back, we need what
4
now?
3/4.
4 3/4 yards. Thank you. And if you use a 108, it's going to be what?
2 1/4.
2 1/4. Thank you for being my brain. Now, when I set this together, I actually put 1, 2, 3, 4 across and 5 blocks down. So it makes a great size quilt. You can see I have some extra pieces. The quilt ends up being 68 by what?
77.
77. So this is a pretty good size quilt, but if you want to make it
for a
bigger,
picnic.
we still have pieces you can cut, and you can make
That's right.
make it a little bigger if you
Or
want.
table runners for all your
Oh,
friends.
that's true.
Right. Oh yeah. Gosh, these would make beautiful runners, wouldn't they?
Yep.
Now, I do want to tell you something, that we all have UFOs.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And I just want you to not feel so bad about your UFOs, because 10 years ago, I did a retreat where I made the blocks for a kaleidoscope quilt, but I never sewed them together.
Okay.
And so I had the little blocks done, and I had them all pinned together in their little twos, but I hadn't finished it. And so when I saw this setting, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to finish those blocks. And so let me show you that one real quick. It's really pretty. It's a Christmas fabric. I don't know the name of the line because it has been 10 years.
It is
Oh,
a Moda line.
that's so fun.
But it's just so fun. I think this is the top right here. No, maybe this way. Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, it's a Christmas line, and it's smaller.
Yeah.
So when you're deciding how big you want your kaleidoscopes, this is like a little 3.5 inch
It's so pretty.
I love that.
triangle
Love it.
on here. And so again, you're just going to cut the same size triangle for your background. I use a little 1.5 inch for my sashing, but here, hold it up high.
I think it would look really cool if you started with like a wider sash and then offset the rows so they were kind of moving around.
Oh, she's thinking way
That
harder
would
than
be
I
fun.
did.
Oh, it's not harder.
You offset
That's
blocks
your
all the
tip.
I
time.
do.
Your
It's
trick.
true. It's true.
That's your
Anyway,
trick.
I just love that I got this done. And you guys, 10 years. You can finish your UFOs. I can too. All
One
right.
at a time.
One at a time.
That's right.
So which one of you is next?
I'm not sure.
You want to go?
Sure.
All right. Let's let Misty
Perfect.
go.
All right, so this is my quilt. I called it Kaleidoscope Squares. We're using squares to make our little shapes this time, but otherwise it's
I
much
love it
like
so
Jenny's.
much.
Thank you. I love how it turned out. I love this fabric.
I love the fabric
It
too.
is called Decoupage Garden Toile, and you're going to need 2 yards of that. It's from In the Beginning. Then you're also going to need 2 1/3 yards of your background fabric, and I use this Essex yarn dyed homespun in pepper.
So pretty.
And so then you'll just need a good ruler that you can cut some squares, and we can dive right into it. All right, so to make this, I went ahead and found my repeat, and mine is 14 3/4. It was actually kind of tricky with this print to
bet.
find.
yeah, with so much going on,
yeah,
it's
there's
harder to see
There's
it.
a lot, and you've got the little birds dancing through there, so it took me a little
Uh-huh.
bit to find, and then we only need 4 in our stack as opposed to 6, so I have
Nice.
those stacked up here.
And did you pin yours and stack them just like I did?
I pinned not as much as yours, but
Okay.
I pinned across the top, and then I put like 1 in the middle, and
Oh,
then
okay.
across the bottom, just to try and keep it from shifting the
Mhm.
full length. And so then we are going to cut ours into 4-inch strips. So I have a piece that I cut off of my repeat here, and I just have that pinned together. And what I wanted to do is pick interesting sections, because I have a little bit more than I need to get a 4-inch square. And I just kind of fussy cut what I thought would be the funnest repeats. So I'm going to start here because I do love this red flower. And we are just cutting 4-inch squares. We can stack that. And then I want to make sure I get this bird. So I'm going to slide this down a little bit. And then I can turn it around.
Oh, I love the fussy cutting with them. That's actually a cool idea as well.
Yeah,
That's cute.
just like that. And then, of course, this beautiful yellow flower.
I'm just going to take this
Just to
really-
be safe.
yeah.
Thank you.
Got it.
All right. And so that is what we get. We get 3 out of each strip.
Okay.
And now we can lay them out and see what we get. And just like Jenny's, you have a few different layout options. This one, because there's 4 sides or 4 corners,
You could do
you
four
can do
different
4
layouts.
different ways. So
Oh, that
there's
looks really
one.
cool.
That's so cool.
And then we can rotate these. If I can keep them straight.
Mhm.
Then we've got that purple in the
Oh,
middle.
That's cool too.
That's awesome.
Let's see that butterfly.
Our butterflies. That's really fun.
Really fun.
And then our
Your yellow pansies.
little pansies. There we go.
That is cool. Oh, that's cool how it makes that little square.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming.
No,
all right.
I love it.
So we
That's
can
fun.
now sew those together just like a 4 patch.
Simple little 4 patch.
Yeah.
I love it.
So I'll let you
Okay.
do that.
I got that for you.
And then while she's working on that, we are going to cut our background into a 7.5-inch strip and subcut that into 7.5-inch squares. So I have that here. And then I'm going to get a marker because we are going to do something a little different.
Cool.
I'm going to draw a line corner to corner, and I'm using this so you can see it. We're just going to make an X. And then I'm going to grab my rotary cutter, and I'm actually going to start this right on that line that I drew.
Oh, so cute. Here, Natalie.
Okay.
You can press that.
And we're just going to cut this X in the middle
I love that.
just to get it started. And then once Nat has that pressed,
Now the cool thing about the, I mean, that line can be done in whatever kind of pen you have on hand,
totally.
because you're going to cut through
it's
it.
going to end up in the seam. You're never going to see it.
And it'll be on the back anyways.
Exactly.
So that's very cool.
So now this matches up exactly with our block, and we can just set this right on top. So we're just going to stack these up, and then we're going to sew all the way around on all 4 sides.
Okie doke.
Very, very cool. This is
If you
just
guys
such a fun
haven't
method.
seen this method, it's really fun.
It's fun.
And I just sew off the edges. You can pivot if you want.
Yep.
I just kind of sew off because I'm already going at a fast rate.
Perfect. So now we can grab our scissors. And since we've already started, this makes it super simple. We can just follow that line right into that corner seam and just do all of our lines that way.
Making sure not to cut through the seam.
Exactly, just right up to it. This should be the last one. And then Nat, if you want to press that open.
I've been waiting all day
the
for this.
whole time. And this is super fun because it's going to set our
I love
kaleidoscope
it. It's just so
squares
cool.
on point.
Oh, here I have a scissor to cut that.
Just a little string that
little
got
one
caught
hanging on.
inside. Little thread.
Yep.
Can you get that? Hold on,
Yeah.
we can wait.
Got it.
This block,
There
I
you
mean,
go.
honestly, you can any block you want to set on point,
Yeah.
you can put that square sew around, you know, cut it out.
The
to
only
corners.
thing you want to, be aware of is it's going to like blunt these little
you will lose your
points. You're not
yeah.
going to keep those points, but it doesn't bother me at all, especially on this quilt. I think
Right.
it just you're drawn
just
to the
connect.
beautiful
Yeah.
kaleidoscope blocks, and so it just kind of ties it all together. So I just put 5 blocks across by 6 down and finished it off with a 5-inch outer border, excuse me. And I think it turned out so cute.
It's beautiful. Is that champagne
beautiful.
bubbles?
This is champagne bubbles for the
Nice.
quilting, and I just
love
used
it.
the original print for the
So
backing.
you get to see the whole thing on the back.
Yeah, and you get to enjoy it. And so that's it. Super
Oh.
easy.
Super
beautiful.
easy. You
I
guys
love
are gonna
it.
love this.
All right,
So
Nat.
your quilt is 56 by 66?
Oh yes,
That's right.
56 by 66. Thank you.
welcome.
Somebody's got to keep me in line.
That's right, that's right.
All right, so you're up next.
All right, I'm excited.
Well, Natalie, it looks like you're up.
That's right. So this is the quilt I made. I think it's
I love
really
it.
cool.
So
I used
cute.
the Rhombus tool, and I got lucky and got to choose Tula Pink's line. So that's
Yes, you
great.
did get
Very
lucky.
fun.
Very
All right,
fun.
so to make my quilt, you're going to need about 3 1/8 yards of fabric, and that depends on the size of your repeat. So if your repeat is larger, you may need more fabric. So keep that in mind when you're at the store shopping. For background, you're going to need 2 7/8 of yards.
Yeah.
And
Just a little less than 3.
right. 3 yards is probably what I would go ahead and order.
Yeah.
And then for your backing, I used a beautiful 108. Tula Pink makes great backings, and
It's gorgeous.
You'll need 2 yards of that.
Awesome.
And you might want a rhombus template, because that is what I use to make
That's
this
right.
quilt, and I think it's really great. Okay, so my fabric was really fun to use. And the repeat was actually pretty easy to find because we had these cool little dinosaurs.
Yes.
So I just wanted to show you, I did my ruler to measure. And if I line up just the top of these little dinosaurs' heads, the T-Rex, it's
just
about
like
12 and an eighth. But I really wanted to do some fun fussy cutting, so I did half-yard cuts for mine. So again, like you guys did, you're going to stack them up so you have 6 layers, and I'll show you kind of.
And you put the pins in and everything like
that.
I
put the pins in, lined it all up. You could cut strips if you wanted to, but I really wanted to frame up some of these dinosaurs, and so I fussy cut every
I love that.
stack. And so it was really fun.
The fussy cutting is such a fun idea, you know, because on mine and Misty's too, you kind of get what you get. You know what you're looking for, but you get what you get. But the actual fussy cutting.
But like looking at where the point of the rhombus is, that is the part that's going to like repeat around in that little circle in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, if I picked this part right here, then it's going to end up kind of making like a little circle of the bottom of these little pots.
I love that.
So I took that into consideration when I was cutting all of my pieces.
Yeah, because on a rhombus, you really only get 2 choices.
Right. You can turn
Because
it
you have
up,
this end or
up
that.
or down. So it was one or the other.
All
but
right.
it was fun for me to be able to be like, oh, I want the eye right there in the middle. That's very cool.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
it was a cool experiment. So I'll show you this one. This guy is, he's a little bit offset, but he still looks pretty cool. And we'll show the 2 different layout options, and then I'll get into the background
This is so fun,
cutting.
this dinosaur fabric.
I know, I just love it. I think it would be really fun to do for kids quilts. You know, a lot of times you're like, you have this novelty
I know
print
a lot
that
of
you're
grown-ups who love dinosaurs too.
okay, true, but I'm thinking about like, you know, the kid who loves tractors or unicorns or
Any
you know,
fabric will work.
Marvel something, whatever it is. You could do this with that, and it makes that fabric look so different and very cool, but they still get like their superhero or their cartoon character that they love.
It's a great idea.
Great idea.
Anyways, so here's one option, and then we could also turn them in and get our little pink flower wreath in the middle, which I think is super cute.
I love that, yeah.
That is cute. I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So just like that. Okay. So our background fabric, we're going to cut white strips, and they're going to be 5 inches wide. And this is where the rhombus tool is really great because it has your background triangle built in to the ruler. So what you're going to do is cut your 5-inch strip, and then you'll look for this line here that says line up edge of fabric strip here to cut triangles. And what that means is you're going to put it on your ruler this way, or put your ruler on your fabric, and then you automatically get all the notches are part of it.
Okay, perfect.
So you're on the wide side, and it does have another little hint. It says use this side for triangles. So hopefully that makes it really easy to use.
Clear.
Yeah, and then you're just going to cut all of your triangles from your strip.
And the notches will help you in
using the
lining
little
up.
notches. Yes,
Yeah.
that makes life so easy. And then these can just go
You just flip side to side.
yes. So I cut into that one by accident. So what I would recommend is cut your piece and then scoot it over before you cut your notches. Just a quick little mistake I made that hopefully teaches a good
It will help
lesson.
you,
Yeah,
for
Yes.
sure.
So you can continue to then
Awesome.
use that same side all the way down your strip. So hopefully that makes sense. So you're going to cut out a bunch of triangles, and then once you've figured out what your middle is, on the top of your rhombus, you're going to add 2 setting triangles to each piece. So I have a few of these sewn already, but I will give you one, Misty.
Okay.
So we're going to, I always just start with the right side. It doesn't really matter, but because we have these notches, you line up the top 2 notches, and you'll sew down that side, then flip it back and add the other triangle to the other side.
Okay.
Awesome.
Let's give that a little finger press.
I was ready. I was ready to iron.
Yep.
Almost had 2 layers of that white.
Oh, I've
Yeah,
done that.
sometimes
so
your
much.
fabrics,
Yeah.
if anybody thinks they're the only one, you're not. We've
I
all
know. We
sewn
have
2
done 2
layers of
pieces.
fabric together by
I'm like,
accident.
well, look at that.
Yeah. You're like, why does this look like a little fabric book?
There we go.
Right?
It's funny.
There we go.
All right, so that's that. I mean, you're going to do this to every single rhombus in the entire quilt. And then you'll put them all together in these little half, basically it's a half hexie. So it's very similar to, it's exactly the same shape as your quilt.
Yeah.
So if you want to go ahead and stitch these together,
Of course.
lining up your little notched edges again, it makes it super easy. This is the only seam you'll want to watch in the middle, but it's not very hard because everything lines up so nice.
Okay.
I love this too because it's a whole nother use for the rhombus. It's just, it makes it really fun.
Yeah. So cool.
Right.
So you'll put these together in sets of 3, adding, you know, 1, 2, 3 together to make that little, it's basically a half hexagon.
Yeah. And then you do a whole row of those.
Yes, and so I put mine all together in these sets of 3 before I started laying it out because it makes it very easy to move things around. You have bigger pieces rather than laying out like all the little individual triangles. So you can sort of lay them out and set them together without having to remake something or deal with a bunch of tiny triangles.
That makes sense.
Gosh, this fabric
still
is
lets you
cute.
play
Isn't it
with
fun?
what you like
It's just
wear.
so cute.
Okay, so I want to show you kind of how it fits into the quilt. So this is going to be where, you know, the quilt goes this way. So you have this one that kind of hangs off the edge. And so what you're going to do is you'll have your half hexagons sort of rotated. So you have one that goes up and one that goes down. So they nest into each other, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then on your ends, you're going to be adding an extra background triangle. So you can see that here. So this one started out as a half hex, and I added a triangle to the top of the row. So every other section is going to have that. So see how these two line up, but then this one doesn't have its outer triangle. If this one is on the edge of the quilt, you're going to just stack another triangle here to fill out the end.
And then you can trim
And
it
then
straight.
you trim it
Yep.
straight.
Then you stitch them down and trim it straight, just like I've done here on this side.
That makes sense.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
I hope that helps. That's the trick for putting these rows together. Let's see.
So how many do you have
So
across?
it's a little trickier because they're mixed up, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4.5.
And this top one right
'Cause
here, you use the bottom one on the
Yes.
bottom. Okay.
That's right. Yep. Just like your traditional half hexagon quilt, the layout works in a very similar way.
I do
So
love
fun.
your quilting
So
pattern.
yes, so I love this quilting pattern. This is called Water, and I think it's really cool. It's just got some great movement. I love the backing fabric.
just
That is,
beautiful.
you'll need 2 yards of that. This is one of Tula Print's beautiful backings. I love it. And the
Tula
quilt.
Pink, you mean?
What did I say?
Tula
Print.
prints.
Tula Print.
It's
Tula
a beautiful print.
Pink's print. It's
Yes.
just gorgeous.
Yeah.
So,
You
and
probably
then the quilt ends up being
62 by 72.
62 by 72. So it's a
Perfect.
great size for a picnic. It's really fun.
It's gorgeous.
I love it. I didn't add a border, but you sure can if you want to.
So thanks for joining us this week for the Kaleidoscope block.
So fun.
I think we gave them 3 new fabulous ideas.
There's so many options.
So
Yes.
many things to
It
do.
turned out really cool.
Yeah, really fun. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this triple play from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.
Bye.
Hi, everybody. It's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I'm here with Misty and Natalie, and we do a show called Triple Play. We love sewing together as a family, and we would like you to join us as we shoot for 1 million quilters.
I can't believe we're so close.
We're so
So
close
close.
to 1 million, so hit that subscribe button and join us today.